it looks like we have an update on The Rock's plans for WrestleMania 40 next year. I'm going to talk about it, but before I do, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, one of the best sports entertainers of all time, one of the best and biggest blockbuster actors of all time, might not be wrestling at WrestleMania 40. So we, of course, all expected him to come in LA and be the guy to face Roman Reigns. That was like the big speculation. That's what all the fans wanted. It didn't end up happening that way, though. And now people are pointing, well, maybe the last time it really is possible for happening as The Rock gets older, Roman probably gets closer to going out and away from professional wrestling. Maybe the last time that this match really has a possibility of happening now is next year at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like that is exactly in the cards. Here's the quote from Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. He says, and I quote, "Reigns has pretty much gone through everyone at the top tier on the roster with the exception of Gunther or, of course, The Rock. Dwayne Johnson, when he turned down WrestleMania this year due to scheduling conflicts, did leave a crack in the door open for a possibility about doing Philadelphia at WrestleMania 40 next year, but was far from committed and certainly nothing anyone should count on happening. There didn't appear to be another new challenger on the horizon," he would go on to say. So Meltzer basically said that right now it seems like we're far away from that happening, and it doesn't really seem like that's what the plan is. Of course, we are a year out from WrestleMania 40. So much could change. But when you really think about it, when you really analyze like just The Rock, what he is, who he is at this point in his life, at his point in his overall career, it is a pretty big risk for him to have a match. Because remember back in 2012, 2013, the last time he faced John Cena. He went on to film Pain and Gain, or he was supposed to go on to film Pain and Gain, a movie with him and Mark Wahlberg as the lead actors. And unfortunately, the filming of that movie was delayed because The Rock tore his abs. He tore, I believe, his quad, if I'm not mistaken, or something in his thigh. He tore up his body pretty bad in that match, in the beginning of that match. And it just led to the movie being delayed. And when the movie is delayed, what happens on top of that? You have the producers and the company that's producing the movie losing money. You have the crew losing out on precious time they could be using to film things or get things ready. And it just sets the entire project back. On top of that, you have to find ways to reschedule with all the actors who also want to do other projects outside of just that movie. So it delays a lot of things when something that serious happens, when you have an injury like that. And look, The Rock, the past few times he has stepped in the ring, and look, it hasn't happened since that Cena match. There's a reason why. He can't jeopardize his Hollywood career. And that's not me saying that in a condescending way, like, oh my God, The Rock doesn't care about professional wrestling. Bro, he's one of the biggest actors in the world. He should have his priorities straight, and he should try to protect his main career right now, which is acting. Of course he should. Now, if he wants to get back into the ring and he wants to the extent of, okay, I'm willing to put, or risk the next 6 months of whatever movie I'm working on or whatever I'm doing or whatever project's going on for one match in case I am injured. He can do that. I just don't see it being likely because this is a guy who, on top of being one of the biggest acting draws of all time, on top of having all these outside projects like the XFL and everything going on, The Rock is a producer. The Rock is a producer of movies. This is a guy who has a full schedule. And to put all that stuff on hold with the risk of potentially getting injured in the ring, it's just too much. And I fully understand why the decision would be for him not to wrestle, for him not to go and have this match with Roman Reigns. Like, you have to be honest about what he is at this point in his life and what his priorities are. Wrestling just shouldn't be a priority for him right now. And that's not me, the fan, saying it. It would be kick ass if The Rock had a match. It would be amazing. It would be one of the biggest moments in the history of professional wrestling if the Anoa'i family had their little family feud in the main event of WrestleMania. That would be stupendous, to steal a word from WrestleMania 38, but we shouldn't expect it. I don't think it will happen, and there's a lot of good reasoning for it not to happen, if we're being quite honest about it. And will it go down as a big wrestling what if? Maybe it will, and maybe we'll all be kicking ourselves in like 10 years saying, man, they should have done the match. But we just have to look at the way things are, and we have to look at the reality of these situations. You can't ignore the fact that this dude is the biggest draw in Hollywood. You can't ignore the fact that he's got other projects that he's put his life or his hard work, his time into that could be jeopardized by stepping foot in the ring. And other thing too, the last time he stepped foot in the ring, what happened? He got injured. Outside of delaying all of the stuff that he's working on, no one wants to tear their abs. No one wants to tear up their muscle right off the bone. Like, that's not something you want to do. It takes a lot of time to rehab. And again, take the Hollywood stuff out of it. No one really wants to go to like rehab to rehab an injury. It sucks. It's not great. It ain't fun because you're in pain constantly. And you really have to think about it at this point. Like, is he in the condition? Is he in? Because there's the thing. The Rock is one of the biggest, baddest mofos on the planet. This dude is jacked to the gills, all right? But you really got to think about it. Is he in wrestling shape? Is he in in-ring shape? I'm not one to like speak on like, oh, like here's what the optimal wrestler's in-ring shape is. But what I do know is there's a difference between being like healthy and fit in just your everyday life and being ready to wrestle a match and putting your body through it and throwing yourself at the ground for 20 to 30 minutes. It ain't fun. And it does take a lot out of you. It does wear on the body. And being in wrestling shape is way different than being in, gym shape. It's just a matter of fact. So we'll see what happens. If I had to put my money on it, I don't think The Rock is going to come back for a match with Roman Reigns. I just think it's just, we're past that now. We're just past the time where that would be possible. And I don't think The Rock having like everything that he has, having his family, that's the other part we don't talk about. Like the amount of time that rehab and all that stuff affects your time with your family. It does. So, I mean, it would be, I think that's obviously the injury that's obviously the reason why we're not seeing it, the injury concerns. Does that mean like The Rock won't just say, F it, I want to do it? No, like there's a possibility he could do that. I just don't see that being likely, but I want to hear from all of you. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think The Rock is going to, in fact, decide to wrestle WrestleMania 40? Is he going to come back, have that one last hurrah, claim himself to be the tribal chief, the head of the table of the Anoa'i family? Or has time just passed us by, and is this just going to be one of the biggest what-ifs in wrestling history? Let me know in the comment section below. If you haven't already done so, remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Until next time, be happy, be healthy, and keep it real.